that noise didn't just give you goosebumps, then you probably haven't played the original Marathon game from 1994. But you're in luck, as Classic Marathon, the first Marathon game in the original trilogy, is now available on Steam. The easiest way to play it by far. And if it did give you goosebumps, then you're probably going to play Marathon again pretty soon. Thanks to the wonderful work done by the ALF1 team, Marathon Classic, with the full support of Bungie, is now available on Steam. Now, playing ALF1 is pretty easy and free, just like it's free on Steam, but this does remove the barrier of going to a separate website and downloading something that you might not be familiar with. Everybody's familiar with Steam if they play games, and it's as easy as clicking the Play Now button. Normally on this channel, I do deep dives into the lore of Marathon in preparation for the new Marathon game that's coming out, and theorize what we're going to see development-wise as far as narrative and gameplay. But the first video that I uploaded about Marathon on this channel is actually a complete synopsis of the original first Marathon game. I have a deep love for this series and the story around it. The original games, although simplistic in nature and from 30 years ago, are still a blast to play. And on top of that, you get this incredible science fiction narrative that's basically a novella within itself that you get to read throughout your duration playing this boomer shooter. The original Marathon is where this all started, and basically all of the lore that is expanded upon inside of the ARG and most likely in the upcoming Marathon game is based very heavily on what you read and experience in this first Marathon. So with that being said, I just wanted to make this video to let people know, get some content out there in the algorithm saying, hey, look, now everybody can go play this and it's available to a broader audience. With that being said, here's a few tips if this is your first time jumping into Marathon, or if you're just a little rusty. The first thing, the controls are probably not what you're used to. Sprint is bound to left control and the interact button is tab. You might want to look at your preferences for the control setup and change those so that you're a little bit more comfortable playing a game that's a little bit dated. The second thing, read the terminals. The beauty of this game is found in the intricate and impressively expansive narrative that is hidden inside of the terminals that exist on board the Marathon ship. Now, it might look a little bit like Doom, but you really shouldn't treat it like Doom and just run through every level, committing as much carnage as you can. Although that is fun, I would save it for maybe your second run through once you've already gotten to experience all of the wonderful writing that Greg Kirkpatrick and Jason Jones did in this game. Third, some things might feel clunky, but it helps if you realize that the implementation of a lot of these concepts is really realized for the first time in video games within Marathon. Dual wielding and looking up and down in the vertical axis are things that were not common in first-person shooters. So when you understand that context, playing this game and the fact that it came out in a world where there weren't a million things like it is truly impressive and indicative of how profoundly impactful Bungie has been on the video game market, and especially first-person shooters. Lastly, the game is hard. We as gamers today are not super used to a lot of the mechanics that existed in the 90s. So don't be afraid to look up a guide. The Marathon Spoiler Guide on Bungie.org is an incredibly powerful resource, and people have been figuring out how to play this game and analyzing the secrets that hide within for 30 years now. So definitely take advantage of the fact that all these resources exist out there to figure out some of the more complicated levels. I'm looking at you, Colony Ship for Sale. This game and the series as a whole are special to me, and I'm very excited for more people to get to enjoy them with a release on such a massive platform like Steam. I hope that this will bring new people into the fold to get excited about the possibilities for how this universe might expand in the upcoming Marathon game. And even if that new Marathon game wasn't coming up pretty soon, hopefully, these games are still worthy of your time, as they represent a masterclass in what video games can be and mean to so many people. I would also like to add that if you do play through Marathon 1 and are kinda confused at the end like most of us were when we first played through them, I have that video that does a very consistent story synopsis of that original game that really removes the fluff that you see in some other videos that seek to describe the events of that story. So if you're interested in a distilled, straightforward, and thorough version of that, feel free to check out that video after you play the game. Also, if you fall in love with this incredibly weird, techno, plunky soundtrack that exists in the first Marathon like I did, I have a lo-fi hour-long version that I made as something to put on in the background. I'll put the link to that video below as well in case you want to check it out after you play through these levels and realize how great that original soundtrack is. Well, like I said, I hope that this release on Steam brings more people into the fold and gets people excited about Marathon and the potential avenues that we might see expanded upon in new content around this universe. The link to Tree Llama's Patreon will be down below. He's one of the guys who's worked on Aleph 1 and has done it kind of out of pocket. So if you can support him in any way, I'm sure he'd appreciate it as they continue to port the next 2 games over to Steam, hopefully later this year. Well guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you play Marathon again. Or for the first time. Bye.